Well, let's once again check in with the folks at Allendale Incorporated in McHenry, Illinois, find out what's going on in the markets. Let's head to the phones right now. And this time we'll bring in Mr. Jim McCormick. He is an analyst with Allendale Incorporated. I want to get your thoughts here, Jim, on what you're seeing developing in the grain trade today. Did that catch too many people off guard? It kind of has that indication with the markets rallying the way that it is.
You know, I don't know if it caught it off guard, but it was almost like they wanted me to see confirmation that the rain was going to come like they forecasted. I got to give the weather guys credit. They said we were going to get heavy flooding rains from Missouri, Arkansas into southern Illinois, and we've got it. And now the market's reacting to it. Like, I think rightfully so. We've definitely lost some ground, and we've not planning back, I would guess, at least a good week from what most of my customers are telling me.
I'm reading one Newswire story here that says wheat has hit a 6-week high now today.
Yeah, wheat is on a 6-week high. Plain and simple, you've got a foot and a half of snow laying on the ground top of some of this wheat out in the western plains, and now you got more rain coming on top of it. The market's worried about quality issues as well as just pure damage, and we're putting a risk premium back into the U.S. wheat market.
How much, realistically, do you think we may have lost here in this last weekend and may eventually lose in corn acreage due to all this heavy rain that we've seen?
You know, I don't know if I would guess maybe 500,000 to 1 million tops at this point in time. A lot is going to hinge on what happens the next 2 to 3 weeks. We're looking about 30% of the crop to be planted coming on tonight's report. The longer range maps are trending a little bit drier at this moment. If they trend drier for the next 2 weeks, we can make up a lot of ground. But if we get another big round of rain for some reason toward the end of this week, early next week, you're going to get some guys thinking maybe I will have to move from some corn acres over to beans potentially. And
that is exactly what Tim Ross and Christina have been talking about. Coming later on this week in the western part of the Corn Belt, maybe into the central part of the Corn Belt, we'll have to watch that very, very closely just as things start to dry out, and maybe they'll get another dose. Let's look at our futures right now here, Jim, and see what the futures market is doing. As you mentioned, the big surge here in the corn market, and it's adding to it. In fact, it's now showing double-digit gains across the board, just like what we saw in the soybeans in the early going, and in the wheat for that matter, too. So let's take a look. Here we go. July, 12 1/4 higher on the corn at 378 3/4. That is a new high for the day as we look at it. December new crop corn, 10 1/2 higher at 395 1/2. That is a new high as we look at it. On the soybean trade, we'll pull that futures board up. We have the July contract, 16 3/4 higher at 973, just a penny from its high of the day. November soybeans now 14 1/2 higher at 967 3/4. That's within a penny of its high of the day. We're off our low now by over 13 cents. On the wheat trade, well, here we go with Chicago July, now 23 3/4 higher at 456 even. That's on the high of the day. On the Kansas City wheat market, we have July new crop now trading at 465 1/4. Now we're 28 higher on the day, just one tick off of its high of the day. And in the Minneapolis wheat trade, here we go with the spring wheat on the July, now 11 3/4 higher at 566 1/2. Can't recall a time when I saw double-digit gains in all the grain markets at one time. Now let's take a look at the cotton market, and is it independent? Well, it's showing a double-digit gain as well. July cotton now up 24 points on the day at 79.11 cents per pound. And now you have your new crop December up 18 points, and it's at 74.80 cents per pound. So strength just about everywhere you look here in the crop markets in the early going here. Jim, if you don't mind, I'll bring you back. We'll talk a little livestock market action as well in just a moment. Our guest, Jim McCormick of Allendale Incorporated. We'll have more when we come back.